I saw this, someone sent me a diagram and it was just four circles. And the two circles on top were the same size. And one was hope and one was fear. And then below it, the hope circle was much bigger and the fear circle was much smaller. And the words, the captions on it was, hope and fear. And then the expanded circle, the bigger, hope got bigger when action was taken, and fear got smaller when action was taken. And it's such a simple diagram to just see, what can happen when we take action. And I just found it to be so true, and Alana made me think of you. You're one of the most activist persons I know. But just small little things can make profound differences in our capacity to stay hopeful. It doesn't, you don't have to save the world today. It can be small gestures that can increase our sense of hope and decrease our sense of fear. So I just offer it because it was a reminder to me: stay active, stay involved, stay engaged, stay in connection with community, and try small things to help you expand your hope and shrink your fear. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start out with a little bit of work on, so we need our usual accoutrements, not usual, but our sometimes accoutrements of the roll towel and the ball. Maggie, I have no idea if you have that with you. Probably not. Do you have it with you? Look at that. She travels with her goodies. Okay, excellent. So we're gonna do a little bit of spinal releasing today too. Okay, so let's find a comfortable seat and just take a moment to drop your awareness down into your body. I'm just gonna make sure everybody's muted now. So take a moment to come into your practice. And I know sometimes that it's hard to kind of shut out all the things, whether it's the cell phone that's ringing or the thoughts in your mind or the to-do list that's coming. And see what you can do, even just for a few breaths, where you can close your eyes and drop into the inner world. Okay, so we decrease our distractions, and try to just retreat away. Find a little bit of pratyahara where we retreat away from the overstimulation and instead expand our inner awareness. Remember that your breath is your guide. How's your body feeling? Can you soften through your face and let go of any tension patterns that are hiding out in your expressions? Let's try to create that blank slate. A full deep breath in and a complete exhale. A sense of surrender through your shoulders. A softening somewhere. And feel your groundedness. Feel your expansiveness. And stay connected to your breathing. Notice these layers of your body and your mind. Already is something shifting. Okay, let's bring our hands to your heart. And with this mudra, just gently, compassionately come into the center of your heart. And see what you can do to swell that space a little bit, expand and open. Let's offer an intention here. Namaste. See what it feels like to just say that to yourself. The light in me honors the light in me. Okay, so you can kind of turn that into yourself in word instead of always so outward. Can you drop into the heart space? See if you can do some, self-care through your practice today, where whatever it is that you need, you can draw inward to give it to yourself. All right, let's release the hands and let's find our way to our back. So we're going to start with this rolled towel. I know we don't always start with it, but for today we are. And so if you're not familiar, it's just a hand towel, 3 rubber bands around it. So you have some space on your mat to put this under your back and use it like a little bit of a massage tool. And it may seem like nothing, but it actually is something. Okay. So start with it underneath your shoulder blades, kind of high up, right at, the tops, not on top of your shoulders. It's definitely underneath your back, but at the top portion of your shoulder blades. All right, now let's start with just a little bit of rocking. Oops, if you have socks on, sometimes it can be helpful to take your socks off. This can be helpful to have some grip on your mat. And we're just going to push off our feet. Before we add the arms, check in and make sure that you have a nice, easy rhythm, that you're not doing pelvic tilts. You're not like tipping your pelvis forward and backward, but just neutral in the pelvis. And we're pushing our feet to make our whole spine rock top to bottom, crown to tail. Now, once you have that pattern, let's start with your arms up straight over your head. This mimics flexion in your spine. It's not mimics, it's just a subtle flexion in your spine. And then stretch your arms overhead as you continue to rock. And this is that extension in your spine. And then we'll bring our hands over our chest again, and we'll turn and look out over one side with our head and our arms to create a little bit of twisting, and then go the other direction. And then when you come back, move down just a little bit on the bolster. So, we're just going to take it all the way down our spine, a little section by section, and where we notice, and we have this rocking. Try to pay attention to the rocking and make sure that you're staying nice and soft and neutral. This should not feel deeply effortful. It should feel somewhat relaxing. And the rocking itself is relaxing. It's a cue to your nervous system that all is well. Okay. And you can be super slow in how you do this, not slow in the rocking, although you could be, but I just mean like luxuriate, hang out in different spots. Or you can go, a little bit faster. Just experiment with how you want to be in this. All right, so pushing off your feet nice and gentle. Your quads are not exerting. And we have that flexion, and we have the extension, and then we have the rotation. And it can feel definitely like a little bit of a massage for your back. Okay, and for particularly we're hydrating and opening a lot of the muscles that and tendons and ligaments that are right about your spine, okay, right about your vertebrae, all those multifidi. There's just lots going on. Even though you may feel it more broadly, there's a lot happening to your vertebrae themselves when you do this. How's your breath? And if you kind of find a spot where you're like, oh, I really like the extension of my arms overhead in this one spot, then stay there a while. Okay, so you don't have to rush through, especially if something feels really good. Let your body hang out and enjoy it. And you know, if you're going very quickly, you might already be down to your low back. And if that's the case, remember when you get to your low back, you can bend your knees and hang on to your knees and rock with your knees toward your chest to give a little bit of more pressure into that lumbar spine. So when you get down there, you know, remember you can do different positions with your legs to help you. I'm about, you know, I'm at the bottom edge of my shoulder blades right now, and I'm sensing my diaphragm. So just a reminder to feel your way into your breathing and to know, you know, any little spots that get a little stuck in your body, it's okay to hang out and stay there. So if you find a good spot, breathe, see what you can do to just let your body be nice and soft. We're receiving. And, you know, of course, we're not, I'm choosing to move more rapidly than I would if we weren't in class. If I do this by myself, where there's no agenda, sometimes I'll hang out on just one spot for a nice long time. But in the interest of, you know, we're going to do some other yoga poses, I'm moving more rapidly than I would. And that can be the case for you too. Or maybe you just won't get to the whole spine and you're hanging out in one spot, and that's good too. So wherever you are, the minute you feel that the pressure, you lose the pressure because of your low back, then, you know, kind of having that natural arch, then you can take your knees in toward your chest and just rock. Okay, and you can rock side to side with your knees. You can rock north to south. Okay, so we're just finding whatever's gonna give us that little bit of nice massage in the lumbar spine. Of course, you'll feel it in your deep low back muscles too, so that quadratus lumborum will get a little bit of a feeling in this pose too. But really, we're trying to just stay nice and hydrated along our spine, and never underestimate the power of rocking to impact the nervous system. Okay. And again, a little bit rocking north and south, a little wobbling left and right. And usually the low back has a couple of passes, maybe 2 or 3 different spots that you can find. And then when you get to your sacrum, you know, when you kind of find your way back onto shore of bones instead of being in that soft tissue space of the low back where there's no other bones besides the vertebrae. Once you get back on shore of the sacrum, you can put your feet down and start that rocking again. And even though it feels like the movement of your arms is not as necessary, do it anyway, because it does impact having that flexion and extension and rotation through your arms. Finding breath. And again, you might come across spots where you're like, oh, I have to just stay there. And this is the joy of doing yoga in your living room or your bedroom or wherever you are right now, is that you can turn me off and just do this for the next 20 minutes if you want to. So try to remember to take time for these restorative practices, especially if you're feeling extra stress in your mind or body. This is the time those are the times when we lean into our restorative practice as well. When you get closer toward the tailbone, you may lose the pressure again. And when that happens, you can straighten your legs and you can push off your heels now. So I'm just flexing and pointing my toes to kind of, or my feet to kind of rock off my heels to make that rocking happen in my body now that I'm on my tail. All right, so you may be still up in your shoulder blades, and that's great too. But whenever you're ready, I'm going to move on now, but you keep doing you if this is a really nice thing for your body and you're not done yet. Okay. So let's stretch, if you're following me, let's stretch to a star on the ground and let's roll your ankles and roll your wrists and maybe wiggle your toes and open and close your fists. Just feel into the edges of your body. And then relax your arms down, a little mini Shavasana. Notice your spine. Okay, just pay attention to what just happened in the back of your body. There's a lot of things that just got loosened and warmed up. Pay attention to your breath. And then we'll draw the knees in toward the chest when you're ready, and maybe a little bit of rocking. All right, right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground, and let's move around and wiggle your ankles and roll through your ankles, wiggle your toes, just feel that movement. Let your head get heavy, relax your shoulders. And then let's switch sides, left knee in, right leg long, and feel that movement of your feet again. All right, a bigger feeling of extension and flexion. Let's open up a big star, reach into your body. And then exhale, pick up your head, knees into your chest, round your spine. Okay. Put your feet onto the ground, grab onto your feet, a happy baby pose. So if this is too deep in the beginning of your practice, that's fine. Hold back some knees instead. All right, so just compress a little bit. Breathe well. And then relax that, hang on to the knees, and let's open up and feel that rim of your hip joint. So kind of rolling around in the hip joint like we often do. You can zigzag or circle or sway, whatever feels nice. And then one more time, a big giant star. Exhale, knees into your chest, round the spine, and let's roll to our side and come up to your hands and your knees. All right, as you find all fours, let's start moving through some cat-cow. So any mobility you can find in your vertebrae, tail tucks under, head bows down, spine lifts towards sky, and switch directions. Lift the tail, lift the heart, and just see what it feels like to move through your vertebrae. Any kind of movement you want to do, let go of the train tracks. You don't have to just do flexion and extension. Move through your ribs, move through your spine, your head, your shoulders, your tail. Whatever feels good. And then we're going to turn and look out over your foot, either side, opening up through the side of your body, your ribs. And then back to center and go to the other side. Okay, come back to center. Stretch your right leg straight back behind you. Okay, stretch out through your calf. Ground yourself with your hands. We'll cross that foot over. So cross your right foot over your left and then turn and look out over your foot. Opening up your rib cage here, feeling that hip open up and stretch. And then back to center. Change sides. Take your foot back, stretch your calf a moment, and then we'll cross that foot over and turn and look at your foot. Breathing deeply. Open up through your hip. Find your breath. And come back to center and stretch down towards child's pose. Walk the hands far out in front of you. Feel some weight sink down toward the hips, toward the heels. Let's find the side body stretch again a little differently now. So open up to one side, walk those hands over, and feel the groundedness of your pelvis. All right, walk the hands over to the other side, feeling a stretch and a reach. Full breath. Come back to the center line. Come up onto all fours. Notice your spine. A little bit of a cat-cow if you want. And let's find our twist here. Arm up toward the sky. Drop that shoulder down. Notice the twisting of your spine. Press your hand, your root it down into the ground. Let your head relax. Full breath in. Full breath out. And then reach that arm all the way back to the sky. Hand down onto the ground. Let's switch sides. Finding your breath. A full inhale. A complete exhale. Inhale, reach that arm back up in the air, hand down onto the ground, find a full dog pose. So push off, get your knees up off the ground and feel the full side bodies lengthen. So really stretch the heart toward the pelvis and reach your femur bones back. Imagine you had a strap, like somebody was behind you, drawing your femur bones back with the strap. Drop some weight into your heels if it feels good, but don't do that at the compromise of your spine, so we're still long. And then walk your feet forward and come to Uttanasana. Relax your neck, shimmy if you want. Inhale for a halfway lift, opening up and lengthening through your spine. While we have your hands on your blocks, let's pedal here again, drawing one hip way back as you drop the heel down, bending the opposite knee, just letting that stretch that we found in our spine kind of open up into our hips now a little bit more. So we're coming offline with our pelvis, bending one knee, dropping the other hip way back. All right, and then find symmetry. Spread the bones of your feet really well. Bend your knees and soften toward the ground. Inhale all the way up, reaching the arms to the sky, feeling that extension. Open up. Let's cactus open the arms here. Spread your wings. Give a good squeeze back there in the back of your body. Arms all the way back up. Let's take the hands behind the head, interlace your hands at the base of your skull and open up your elbows and just feel the back line of the body. We're gonna, obviously focus a little bit back there today. Try to have a scoop under the base of your skull and lift your head. Lean back into a back bend just a little bit to open the elbows, supporting the head. And then relax. Keep your hands where they are. Bend your knees a lot. And then roll forward into an Uttanasana. And now the scoop at the base of our skull. Draw the heels of your hands there and draw your head down toward the ground. And maybe tuck your chin in. All right, release the hands. Inhale for a halfway lift. Opening up and lengthening the spine. Exhale. Melting again. Step back to a dog pose. Find your length in your body. Let's pedal your feet here. See if you can open up the Achilles, open up the calves. Very important parts of our body. We often, kind of focus on the big muscle groups. Let's pay attention to our hands and our feet. Root to rise, long spine. Come forward into a plank. Find that sense of stability. Widen your collarbones, lift your heart forward a little bit. Stay rooted through your index finger mounds, your whole hands. Shoulder blades down the back, inner thighs toward the sky. Zip up your midline. All right, and we'll put the knees down onto the ground and find the earth. Shoulder rolls. Notice what's back there in the back of your body. Inhale for a cobra. Exhale and melt back down. Let's take our hands wide, palms on the ground, a wide cobra pose. Reach your legs. Exhale. melting to come back down. Up onto all fours, wiggle around in your spine, release that back bend, come to lie down on your right side. Okay. Bend your knees, take your head on your arm and take your other arm, your hand on top of your head. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, pick up your feet and your side a little bit, and then inhale to come back down. So our feet lift up, our left elbow lifts towards our feet, and then come back down. So try to pay attention to what's happening here in your low back, engaging the deep muscles of your lumbar spine on one side. Make sure you're exhaling as you lift. Inhaling as you come back down. One more time. And then relax. Roll over onto your back. Maybe a big star on the ground. And then we'll come over to your left side. Okay, so as you lie down on your left, your knees bend. Bend, your head is supported by your left arm. You can always put a block there if you want. Right fingers on the top of your head. Take a deep breath in, and we lift on the exhale. Inhale to come back. Only our feet and our chest and our head are lifting. Our knees are staying down on the ground. Notice if one side feels a little bit different than the other. Kind of isolating that quadratus lumborum a little bit. Right, then one more time, stretching out to a star on the ground. Exhale, knees into your chest. Pick up your head, roll to your side. Find your way again to a dog pose. Feeling that root to rise, reaching through your side bodies. Can you get a little space between your ribs and your hips? And walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. Let's grab your elbows. Get a little gravitational pull. Feeling those side ribs lengthen away from your pelvis. Bend your knees as much as you need to tip the pelvis forward. Bobble your head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Melting to fold again. Step your left foot back. Right foot's in front. We're on blocks with our hands. All right, so open up that hip flexor. Let's place your knee down onto the ground. So you just take a moment to really open up the hip flexor of that back leg. Find your breath. Okay, maybe reach one arm up. Maybe a little bit of side body extension here. And let's take the forearm to your knee or elbow to your knee. So you find a twist embedded within this hip stretch. Drop the shoulders, collarbones wide. Breathe into your psoas. Coming back to the center line, hands come back on the blocks. Curl your back toes under and lift up off your knee. All right, so stabilize with your hands on your blocks and let's begin to bend and straighten the front knee. Try to move a little slow so you can feel what's happening. Opening up your hamstring. First pass, let's just take your right big toe and root it down so as your hip reaches back, you feel a stretch at the top of your foot. And then lunge again. And this next pass, let's lift the toes, squaring the hips, lengthening your spine and tucking your chin. Back to a grounded posture. Root your legs. Inhale, climb up, crescent lunge. Feel your ribs lift off your hips, open and extend. Find your breath. Let's grab onto the left wrist with the right hand and just reach upward and feel that side body and the hip open up. Breathing back to neutral. Hand comes down, left hand comes down onto the ground. Find a twist. Maybe your hand's on a block instead. Just see what feels good. And let's move our arm and our shoulders and our ribs, like a backstroke. Big breath in. Exhale, swing it back around. And land up in that twist again, shoulder blades down the back. Hand comes down onto the ground, dog pose. Feeling that long spine again. Take your feet wide on the mat. Breathe into the belly, long, spacious spine. Now, let's come forward into a plank again. Rooting down, shoulders away from the ears. Pelvis is in line with the, you're a straight board in your body. We're not tipping our hips up. You can always put your knees down, find the ground to come to the floor. Okay. Roll the shoulders again a couple of times here. Find a back bend that works. Could be a Sphinx pose, could be a wide cobra pose, could be an up dog. Anything that feels spacious and free. Exhale and relax. Come up on tall fours. Wag your tail a little bit. Now, before we do the second side, let's pick up our feet and we're gonna and hopefully this is okay for your knees. If it's not, keep your feet down and move your ribs, turn your head. But if you can, pick up your feet and just see if you can just turn your head toward your feet as you swing your feet left and right. And then back towards child's pose, and take a breath here and let the back of your body open up. Feeling the breath travel down your spine. Lift to a dog pose. Feeling that extension again. Spread the feet. Walk your feet forward. Deep forward fold. Relax your neck. A halfway lift. Fold again. Let's step our left foot forward, right foot back. So we're on the second side now. Place your back knee down onto the ground. Hands on blocks to begin, so you feel that right hip flexor stretch open. Finding your breath. Come on up a little higher. Maybe let's reach that right arm up and over to the left a little bit and just kind of find that pathway. And then cross to a twist. So forearm on your knee, other hand, your left hand presses into your thigh to help you lift your spine. Stabilize your legs, press down and hug in toward the middle. Widen your collarbones and drop your shoulders. All right, and then come back to center. Come to a lunge, curl your toes under, lift off your back knee. Okay. Couple of slow passes here where we straighten and bend the front knee after kind of a warm-up pass. This next one, let's see what it feels like to keep your toes down, grounded. Square the hips, pull that hip back, drop your chin. Back to a lunge. This next one, as you straighten your leg, lift your toes. Square hips, tuck your chin. All right, come back to your lunge. Ground your legs. Inhale, rising up to crescent lunge. Okay, arms lifting. And as always, modify anything and everything. Move slower than I'm going. Just see what feels right to you. Okay. If your ribs can, lift them off your hips. Melt the base of your skull. Create some room in the back of your neck. Let's grab onto the wrist. A little bit of a side extension here. Stay grounded in your legs. A little bit of balance challenge. Come back to neutral. Let's reach forward with that right arm, hand on the block or a hand on the ground, whichever way you want to go. Let's do some big circles with your ribs and your shoulder, a big backward swing. Move with your breath. Keep your legs nice and stable. All right, let's stay in this twist. Drop the shoulders down, root your feet, hug to the midline. Keep your neck neutral, so if looking up is hard on your neck, just looks, neutral with your neck. Release. And let's bring our body back to a child's pose. Settle your hips back toward the heels, let your hips release. Finding your breath. Spread open the bones of your hands. Let's find a dog pose. Find symmetry in the backs of your legs now. Drop your heels, lift your sit bones. Engage your quads, lift your kneecaps, draw your femur bones back. Let's walk our feet forward and climb all the way on up. Finding your breath. Pause in Tadasana for a moment. Breathing deeply. Let's turn to the side of your mat and take some wide legs. Elbows inside your knees, a deep squat. Okay, just stretching our legs in a different way, opening up those inner thighs, grounding your feet, rooting down. And come back up. Standing up straight. Let's come to a goddess pose. We're going to find a side body stretch here. So lengthening up and over through one side as you drop some energy into your legs. Doesn't matter how low you go, but nice and grounded through your legs. Back to center. Over to the other side. All right, back to center and come up to stand. We're going to come into triangle pose. Now, think about challenging yourself a little bit in this way. We're going to start, we'll do it twice. We're going to start in a regular triangle pose just to kind of find our legs in this posture. Okay, so ground down, open up your spine, notice. And for this first variation, let's see what it feels like to stretch the arm overhead and feel a deep grounding in that leg. Now notice the imprint as you come back to neutral with your arm, the imprint of the stability of your legs. We're going to come on up and reverse your triangle pose. Reach into the side body here. And then I don't want you to go very far in this pose, so be very mindful as you move. Depth is not as important as stability. Think stable before anything else. We're going to reach both our arms up. We're still in those triangle pose legs. Find your legs, find your core, find your back muscles. And we're going to imagine, and you can actually hold a block if you want, if you need some, stabilizing for your upper body too. You can grab a block. We're going to tip to the side just a little bit. Root your legs, engage your core, feel your spinal muscles. Wrap your torso with strength. And then come back up. Release your arms down and let's take the pose to the second side. All right, so first, just a nice yummy triangle pose. Reach your arm, bring it onto your leg or a block, however you like to be in this pose. Find the hamstrings opening up on that front leg, root down through your big toe. The hip nestle, or the femur bone nestles up into the hip joint. Can you find a little more spaciousness through your torso, your chest, your spine, your heart, your collarbones? Reach that arm over your head if it feels good. Okay, so only go where your body says go. Notice this left shoulder. Drop your shoulder blade away from the ears. All right, well, come on up. Reverse your triangle pose. Feel that side body stretch on the other side now. And then if you want to put a block between your hands, you can. If you need your hands a little wider, that's fine too. When we tip, be very mindful of what you're doing. So we're stable in our legs, we're grounded, we're engaging our core, we're working with a lot of strength through the center body as we cantilever on a long lever over. Root into the feet. Unlock your standing knee if you're hyperextended. Find your core strength. And that means your back too. And then come back up. Turn your feet straight forward and find your way down into Pasrita. You can always turn your feet out a little bit if that's a better position for your hip joints, and even turn your feet in if that feels better. So experiment. This pose should feel nourishing and relaxing. Engage your quads, go as deep as you want. Opening up the backs of the hamstrings, those inner hamstrings. Grab your two blocks, climb up onto them, still with your femur bones back. Spread the bones of your feet, long spine. Okay, we're gonna heel toe your feet in. And come to Uttanasana. Bend your knees a fair amount and let your back loosen. Okay, we're gonna find our way to the ground. You can move through a dog pose and a plank pose if you'd like, or you can just follow me and just find your way to your back. All right. We're going to do an active bridge and then a passive bridge. This is such a good pose to kind of feel the strength in the back line of the body. Root your feet down. Now remember, it doesn't matter how high you go. You could still be touching the floor, but doing a lot of work with the back body. So start with your arms down next to your sides, palms facing toward the sky, and press your whole arms down into the ground, shoulders to fingers. Okay, and just feel the strength of your triceps, those muscles along your spine, the back of your body, and then relax. Now we know the action of our shoulders. Before we lift high, push into the four corners of your feet and just notice what turns on. Relax that. Now we're going to put all this together for a bridge. If you feel like you need stability, you can always put a block between your thighs. We're going to lift up now. Don't turn your head. Make sure your head stays neutral. If you want to interlace your arms behind your back, by all means. I like to do it with my arms open. So I'm pressing my arms, palms facing up, arms from shoulders to fingers are rooting into the ground. All four corners of your feet rooting into the ground. Lift your hips to wherever they go and breathe deeply. Check in with your neck. As you breathe deeply, make sure you're not straining your neck, so press the back of your head. Maybe look straight up toward the sky instead of tucking your chin, if that helps your neck. All four corners of your feet are rooted, arms are pressing down. All right. And then relax your pelvis down. And let's windshield wiper our knees. Turn your head in opposition of your knees. Finding your breath. All right, this next variation, we're on the block. Okay, so a block underneath your pelvis. If you want to go high, you can put two blocks underneath your pelvis. You can have one block on the lowest height, on the middle height, but make sure you're going across your sacrum, across your pelvis. Open up your shoulders and enjoy the the weightedness of your pelvis on a block. Allow your breath to happen. Lift our hips. Then lower our pelvis back down to the ground. And again, some windshield wipering. Okay. We're going to roll to your side and come up to sit. All right, grab the edge of a blanket to sit on and grab a strap. Now, Paschimottanasana, I feel like this pose, and maybe it's just because I've had a back injury before, but it's so easy, I think, to overdo this pose. So let's be very mindful of how we go about this. Okay, so get the flesh of your buttocks out of the way so you feel your sit bones. You can have your feet hip width apart. You can even put a block between your thighs if that helps you in this posture. There's a couple of tricks with the strap. You could just wrap it around your feet. I like to do the extra little loop where you take it behind your feet and then each strap kind of wraps around the top of your foot and then back under your foot. That's a subtle little thing, but it'll help you lengthen the inseam of your leg a little bit better. Right? Find your breath, lift up through your heart. Now your pose might be just right here because it feels good to have all this space in your body. And if you want to go a little deeper, great, but be so mindful of what's happening in your lumbar spine. Remember those triangle poses we did and all that core support you needed? Find all that core support now so that we're not collapsed and going forward with passivity. We're going forward with activity through our torso. Press your legs down into the ground. Lift up through your spine. Engage your quads. So we're not passive in the stretch. We're very active. Drop the shoulders. Pull your elbows back. A little bit of tug on that strap to help you lift the spine and heart. And then once you get to the place where you're like, yep, that's where I end, then tuck your chin, but nothing else in your spine, just your chin. Up, take the strap off, okay? Sit cross-legged, just a simple cross-legged pose. Notice your spine. And we'll do a simple twist here. So left hand behind you, right arm up, bring your hand to the outside of the knee and twist. Coming back to center, changing sides, arm up, hand to the outer knee. We're right on our sit bones. Drop the shoulders, collarbones spread. Breath is moving our belly. Twist on the exhales. Come back to neutral. Take the soles of we're still on the edge of the blanket. Take the soles of the feet together, but our feet are far away from our pelvis, not right up against. Lengthen through your spine, elbows on your knees. If your elbows are too far away, you can always put a block on your knees underneath each elbow. Long spine, long spine. Drop your weight into your elbows, open up your hips. And then once you get to the place where you're like, yep, this is where my body ends, bow your head. You don't have to hold yourself with such tension like we did in the forward fold, Paschimottanasana. This time, just let everything soften. Back up. And let's find our way onto our back. Here's Shavasana. But if your body's like, ooh, I need a little something, something, then you do you. Okay, so we're gonna take any support that we need. We're gonna find some breathing practices. Okay, just simply a deep inhale and a deep exhale. Check in as you lie down and make sure that there's nothing that you need. Maybe you need more support. Sometimes after doing back body work like we did today, it's helpful to have some support underneath your knees, like a bolster or something under your knees, but maybe you're comfy flat, or maybe you even want to put your calves up on a chair or something. Attend to the distractions, not touching random props. The eyes are soft. Maybe you have an eye pillow. Maybe you've turned off lights so you don't bright lights. Just see what it feels like to rest your body. Are you warm? Are you supported? Can you melt, or are you having a challenge with that? And if you're having a challenge, try to figure out what it is. How can you support yourself better? Let's begin to deepen our breathing. Any kind of movement that serves you. So coming onto your side and giving yourself a moment on your side. As you feel ready, you can push yourself up. And notice, how perhaps you're not identifying it as hope, but that there's something that changes through the actions of your practice. So remember that when you feel stagnant, when you feel stuck, when you feel afraid, when you feel anxious, taking action, any kind of action, it could be going out and taking a walk, it could be making a phone call to your congressman, it could be a breath practice, it could be a hug of someone you love, making a phone call to someone you love, all the millions and trillions of possibilities of action. But notice how you feel a little different. Let's bring our hands together. Offer the gifts of your practice outward. Lift your heart. Let's try to keep an open heart. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.